Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Karen Huber. I'm with Home Instead Senior Care here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, welcoming all of you to our Caregiver Wellness Day webinar series. This is our second year to do a webinar series for
I think we may have lost Karen mid-sentence.
I believe we did. While we're waiting for her to come back on, I'll just get us started a little bit and we'll let Karen come back and finish what she was saying. But welcome, everybody. I'm Barb Werning. I'm the Executive Director at Heritage Area Agency on Aging, and we're so happy to see you all here this afternoon. What Karen would have been telling you is that this event has been going on for 20 years, and Heritage has been very pleased to be part of this event. We're so happy to be here today. Virtual has worked really well during these times, and so I think we have a great presentation for you all today. First of all, we want to thank all the caregivers out there. This event really is for you, and it wouldn't be possible without everything you all do every day to provide support and love to the people that you're giving care to. We'd also like to thank our sponsors for today's event. We have Abbey Health Services and Smooth Moves by Gina. We couldn't have presented all of our great information in this series without our sponsors. And we want to take this time to say that all of the dollars from our sponsors are deposited into the Heritage Family Caregiver Fund that will help pay for the needs and services to help caregivers continue to provide care to their loved ones. So before we start with our speakers, and we hope Karen can join us again, but before we start with our speakers, we do have a brief presentation by Gina with Smooth Moves, and then we also have a commercial from Abbey Health Services.
Hi, guess what I'm doing right now? I am moving a senior. We specialize in senior move management. We move seniors, and the name of our business is Smooth Moves by Gina. We have been around for 11 years, and we love our seniors. So the next time you're thinking of transitioning your grandparent, your mother, your father, I hope you'll think of us. Smooth Moves by Gina, your senior move specialist. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amber Franzen with Abbey Health Aging Services. I want to thank all of you wonderful caregivers for all your love and time that you give to the person you care for each and every day. Please know that you are not in this caregiving journey alone. Our 3 adult day health centers, Milestones in Cedar Rapids, Milestones in Marion, and Pathways in Iowa City, are available to give you a break from your caregiving duties Monday through Friday by providing a safe and active environment for your loved one to enjoy. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the Caregiver Wellness Series today.
Well, thanks so much for both of those presentations. They were wonderful. And we also want to thank Abbey Health for a donation that they gave to Heritage to help support some of our consumers in need, a donation of respite services and daycare services. And thank you so much for that donation, guys. And also, Karen's not here, but I want to just express our thanks to Karen and Home Instead Senior Services. They've been part of this entire webinar series, and they've been really great to work with as well. And I think I believe Karen is joining us again. Hi, Karen. We just took off without you. Oh, oops, Karen, we can't hear you yet. I'm so sorry.
Joys of Zoom.
Yes, we've all learned to work with it. So Karen, when you get your audio back, we'll give you a moment to talk as soon as you can get those technical problems taken care of. Until then, we're going to move on to our speakers for today. We're fortunate enough to have family caregivers, Susie Winkowski, Mary Humphrey, and Larry Dorman, here to discuss their caregiving journey. Kathy Good and Abby Wereweather from the Family Caregivers Center of Mercy are here, and they're going to moderate the series. They're going to ask some questions of the caregivers. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Abby and Mary, and you can introduce yourselves and then get started with the caregivers we're so lucky to have here today.
Thank you, Barb. And actually, we're going to start with Kathy Good, who's going to just give us a little intro about why the center's here.
Great.
Well, I am so pleased as a former family caregiver to be here today to champion family caregivers who, as I often say, are living in the trenches in caring for someone who is living with a chronic condition. So we asked the family caregivers on our panel today to share how, as a caregiver, they have coped these last couple of years with COVID-19. So often you come to a conference and you hear professionals and speak, and that's really good. But at the Caregivers Center, we think that there are many family caregivers who know a lot and from whom we all can learn a lot. So we asked them if they would share their thoughts with you, because we knew that that too would be good. So I'm back over to Abby, who is going to ask some questions, and then our panelists are going to share their thinking with you. So to you, Abby.
Thank you, Kathy. So yes, we're so grateful today to have you three here. And we're just going to start with some introductions. So why don't we start with Mary? Will you tell us a little bit about you and the person you're caring for? And you're muted, just so you know.
Thank you. My name is Mary Humphrey, and I am caring for my husband, who has been diagnosed with mild dementia. Initially, he was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, and we've now progressed. That was in 2016, and in 2019, he was upgraded to mild dementia. We are very fortunate in that he's doing well, and we spend our days trying to make sure that he has a good day, and except when we don't have a good day. And that's really, we live in Cedar Rapids, and our daughter lives with us, so we have that support, and definitely have enjoyed the support that we've gotten from all our friends and that we've met at the Caregiver Center.
Thank you, Mary. Susie, why don't you tell us about you and who you're caring for?
Certainly. Hi, my name is Susie Winkowski, and I am my husband Walt's caregiver. Walt was diagnosed with dementia about 6 years ago. And 3 years ago, we retired from the Seattle area and moved to Marion, Iowa. I consider myself a very lucky caregiver, because Walt is a very, very happy-go-lucky person, and he will just about do anything. He's always got a good mood, and I don't have to deal with any of that. So I consider myself very fortunate. I'm very thankful that I ran across the Family Caregiver Center, because they have been just a huge support to me.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Abby.
Larry, will you share with us about who you are and who you're caring for?
Yes, my name is Larry Dorman, and my wife Deanna has dementia. She was diagnosed about 7 years ago. She has steadily gotten worse, especially over the last year or so. I am caring for her at home. I take care of everything for her, take her to the bathroom, give her medications, prepare meals, and put her to bed. She is unable to do anything on her own. And I'm also very fortunate that Deanna is the happiest person you will ever meet.
She definitely is a sweetheart. We've enjoyed getting to know both of you guys as you participated in our chorus. So we're going to jump into some other questions and kind of split them up today. So one caregiver will focus on the question, and then the others will jump in if they have something else to say afterwards. So we're going to start with Larry. So Larry, what barriers or struggles have you faced as a caregiver during the past 2 years with COVID-19?
Well, Deanna fell, and when we took her to the hospital because of COVID, they would only let one other person go in with her. Since I sometimes don't hear everything well enough to explain it back to the family, I had one of my daughters go in and the other one waited with me out in the car in the parking lot. Long story short, the hospital discovered they had x-rayed the wrong arm, so we had to take Deanna back for them to retake the x-ray. She had broken her arm. Because of the kind of break it was, she only needed to wear a sling and then have some physical therapy. During this same time, I had ear surgery, and I didn't know about the wrong arm being x-rayed until they picked me up. On the same day I was released from the hospital, my daughters were taking Deanna to her orthopedic appointment. They went from the PCI building for that appointment to picking me up at Mercy Hospital. They took turns staying overnight to help care for Deanna.
You have some amazing family members, don't you?
Because I couldn't exert myself. That's it.
Yeah. I think we've all learned how important having those people around us that are so supportive the past couple years. Susie and Mary, do you have any other barriers or struggles that you feel like you guys faced the past couple years?
I think for me, the two biggest struggles that with the COVID that I faced was my husband. I could see him going down because of the isolation. I think that people with dementia strive better when they're in a community where they see people and can go out and have dinner and see other people around them. And without having that, that was a huge struggle for me. And the other struggle was we all understand the protocols because we can recall them. But for them to understand that when you get out of the car, you have to put that mask on, they couldn't understand why. And it was a constant struggle to say, you have to put this mask on. After about a year, it got to be a routine finally. But at first, it was a big struggle to get him to understand the protocols.
Mary, how about you?
I would say the same. It was, I would say that very much the same that Susie has mentioned. In addition, being able to, our family is, although not in Cedar Rapids, they're not that far away, and it was difficult not being able to travel and get together with our friends and so on and so forth. It was kind of interesting because when derecho hit, it surprisingly gave us the opportunity to see more of the community because people were out in their yards. And while you still had to do the social distancing, we did have the opportunity to see people from, even if it was from a distance. But yeah, it was the isolation and constantly having to remind him, can't shake hands, can't give hugs, that kind of thing. So I'd say that was kind of what we went through over the last year between COVID and derecho.
Thank you. Larry, both Susie and Mary kind of covered this, but did you and Deanna experience increased social isolation?
Yes, it was very difficult and hard. We didn't leave the house very much at all. We stopped going to church. We stopped going out to eat. I have two daughters that live in Cedar Rapids, and they would bring me groceries. We limited our time with them when they did come over and tried to visit outside. We did try the messenger Zoom. The only problem with that was it was hard to hear what everyone was saying. It didn't really work for our large family.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I know that Larry and his wife experienced in terms of isolation was, she used to come to women's coffee that we had here. And so obviously when COVID hit and we had to shut everything down, that women's coffee, because it was meant for women who were living with early stage dementia, that really didn't work by Zoom. So as Larry's saying, it didn't work for his family. It didn't really work for us to be able to do that by Zoom either, even though a lot of our things were able to go on. So that added, I think, some increased isolation for the women that were attending that coffee.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. So moving on to our next question, I'm gonna have Susie answer this. So Susie, how have you or did you overcome or deal with the barriers and struggles you identified during COVID?
Well, for us, I felt like I needed to do something out of the house every day instead of just being stuck inside. And so I felt like I was more of an activity director than a caregiver for a while, because every morning I'd get up and put on my activity director's hat, and we would go for walks, or I went out. My husband and I he was a major woodworker, and so I went out and bought a tiny bandsaw, which I know he doesn't cut on that, but I cut some products out, and then he loves to sit down and sand and paint and wash brushes. So we did a lot of that. We also did some outdoor walks. When it was summer, I thought, well, we used to golf, so let's give this a try. And so we went to the golf course one day, and I thought this will be great. We'll see other people. Well, the first time we went didn't work so good because it was just frustrating for him to hit that ball all the way to the green, and then 9 times doing that. And so I said I wasn't going to give up on this because I figured this was a good thing. So we went again a couple days later, and I told the people at the clubhouse what we were going to do, and they were all fine with that. So I would hit the ball all the way to the green, and then my husband would put the ball in, and found out that worked so good. He loved just riding in the cart, and he didn't have the frustration of trying to get it there. So that worked good. And then we did a lot of Zooming with family and friends. And last Christmas, we did a gingerbread contest with all of our family for an evening. So we did fun things like that.
I think that's wonderful. And you're definitely an example of resilience, I think, pivoting when things don't work and trying new things, even if they might fail. So I think that's a great lesson for all of us, especially, those of us who are caregivers.
And I remember, Susie, that you also talked about that during COVID, you instituted kind of a family newsletter where you kept everybody in the loop about what was going on with you and with Walt. And so then they kind of would understand when you did some sort of activity via Zoom or suggested something, they had more understanding, I think, about what was going on with Walt. And so it was a great communication piece as I kind of remember it. I'm not sure I've stated it very well here, but
No,
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
You are right. I do a quarterly, sometimes a little longer newsletter that I send out to all of my family. I've started to include some friends in this now. And I tell him how he's doing, how we're progressing, what's happening. And then I always try to put some tips in there that would help them to communicate with him, or to engage him, or to get him involved, or what he likes to do. And so I send this out, yes, about 3 to 4 times a year.
Great.
I'm guessing that's not only helpful for Walt, but I know it's kind of your personal mission too, is reducing, the stigma of dementia, and just trying to reduce that fear too of family, friends, community members, how you interact with someone. So I think that's a great example of a way to do that.
Well, I think Kathy and Abby both know that is probably my biggest passion, is that when people are diagnosed with dementia, there becomes a stigma associated with them. And I am a firm believer that a person with dementia can continue to lead a very productive life. We have to help them, but they can be as productive in society as they were before. They can do everything they did before, even in a different manner. And even after my journey as a caregiver is done, I will still be passionate about trying to rid this stigma that's associated with dementia.
I think there's also some stigma associated with other kinds of chronic conditions. Maybe not as much, but I think that what we all need to remember is that and to encourage and become an advocate, like Susie is saying, for the reduction of stigma because somebody doesn't function exactly the way that we're functioning. And so I think it's most pronounced, or maybe some of us that are on this panel here have most experienced it as it's related to dementia, but I think it exists in our world. And so I think we need to be constantly working on helping the culture understand that, because I think it comes from fear. And I think that we don't have to be so fearful. And hopefully the more we're visible, the more that is that people have exposure. So I think that's really good. Yeah.
You're exactly right.
Thank you, Susie. So I'll open that up to the other two of you. So maybe Mary, is there anything you'd like to share about how you and Dawn have kind of overcome some of your struggles during this time?
Well, we used a lot of Zoom calls. We attended a lot of the Zoom calls through the Caregiver Center to continue with our meetings. We especially were happy that we were able to continue the conversations with couples, because Don really looked forward to those things. And it was nice to be able to have those to look forward to. And one of the other things that I did was I realized that when we would have conversations about family and friends, it was difficult because it's difficult for him to put a face with a name or vice versa. I pulled out a lot of family photos and displayed them where he could see them. Our daughter even made an electronic, we got an electronic frame and put together some photos from when he was in the military back in his 20s, and he's thoroughly enjoyed that. So, that and grocery deliveries. I love the grocery deliveries so that we can still get everything that we need. But I really, the friends and family that they almost seem like family that we've made through our groups. We have a dance club that we belong to, and so we were able to stay in touch with them. So that's kind of where we went with it. So
thank you, Mary. Again, that connection is really important. So I'm glad you guys found other ways that you could connect. Larry, how about you? Anything to add to that question?
Well, I have a golf cart here at home, and Deanna always liked to ride in it. So I had to rig up a safety belt so she wouldn't fall out of it, because she would reach for something, and not realize that she could tumble out of there. And I take her down the road here. I live on a dead end street, and she just loved to look at things as we're driving. And I take her out to supper. She likes to watch other people, and she's happy with that. When we have friends over, she can't communicate what she wants to say, but that doesn't stop her from getting into conversation when we're talking, because she gets the jambling on and is just happy that we're there,
Larry, were you the one that, when we were talking in the past, talked about the little card that you use at restaurants?
Yeah, I was thinking that was going to come later. I have the Alzheimer's card here that says on the back, and I carry this in my billfold when we go out to eat. It says, "Thank you for your patience and kindness for my companion who has dementia. Any unusual behavior from my companion is due to this disease. I appreciate your understanding during this visit." I just show that to a waitress or a waiter, and they nod. And then 75% of the time they say, "Well, I have a grandma that has that problem." So don't be afraid to take her out to eat. She may not eat as good as anybody else, and it doesn't bother me if I reach across the table and feed her, give her something, because she'll sit there and pick up something and forget what she's going to do with it. So that's where I'm at with her now. I have to kind of make her, feed her to get her to eat, but she eats whenever I put it up there. Sometimes she gives me a cussing word or two, what I think are cussing words or two, but then the next second she's okay again, so. And also, we got to remember that we have the living dementia 10, I call them commandments, that say, I keep looking back at this, and I have a brother that's, his wife is getting Alzheimer's too now, and I gave him a copy because he was never able to agree and never argue, divert, never reason, distract, never shame, reassure, never lecture, reminisce, never say remember, repeat, never say I told you, do what they can do, never say you can't, ask, never demand, encourage, never condescend, reinforce, and never force. And whenever we get agitated, you just need to think back that it's not them that are making you agitated.
Thank you, Larry. I wanted to ask you too. So I think, Deanna probably progressed the past couple years, and you've noticed a lot of differences in her abilities. And I think I remember you saying, your daughters have been really helpful in coming in to give you a break. And I think you guys ended up hiring a company too to do that.
Yes,
So,
I have. The caregivers come in Tuesdays and Fridays, and now I have them coming in. One of them can come on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock every other week, so I can be on Zoom, and they stay till 1:30, and the one on Friday comes at 9:30 and stays till 1:30. And if I want to, I can add another one on Wednesday, because hospice comes on Mondays and gives her a shower, and it comes on Thursdays and gives her a shower.
yeah.
So they help me out quite a bit. Also, I have learned after Deanna got out on me last spring, in the 40-degree weather and walked down the road without me realizing it, I found a belt that I can put around the chair so that I know that she can't get out and walk away or get out and fall, which she did to me while I was sitting there one day. She got up and just made a U-turn and hit the wall head first. So that's my biggest savior, is that belt it's not a tight belt, it's just a loose one, but it keeps her from getting up out of that chair when she might get the urge to do so.
I'm glad that you found some tools that have worked for you. And also, we talk about building your team a lot here. You really, it really is hard to do it alone. So whether it's friends, family, hiring someone to come in, or we heard from Milestones earlier, having those people that can come in and support you so you get a break as a caregiver is really, really important. So thank you for sharing about that.
Also remember that take her for a ride every day and have the music playing. That's very much the happiest time of her ride, is listening to music, and she starts to sing with some of them and knows some of the words, So I tell everybody that I can, don't forget about the music. They still remember the songs.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our next question. So Mary, what can you tell us that you learned during this time, whether it's about you or Dawn, that you would like to share with others?
Probably the biggest thing that I've learned is some of the things that Larry suggested, especially patience, and realizing that, I need to adjust to where he's at versus trying to bring him to where I am, because it will just make him happier and it makes it easier for me. And never to use the word remember. You don't remember, or whatever. I've learned to just repeat whatever, fill in the history of whatever we're talking about. so that he can still participate in the conversation. The other thing that I've learned is it's okay to reach out to your friends and family. For example, today we were supposed to go to lunch with some friends, and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to make it. So they stopped over. When they offered to stop over, I didn't say no. I said yes, he would be would love to go with you. So accepting that help, I think, is a big thing, because I think sometimes I think, oh, can he go by himself? Will they be able to understand and deal with where he's at? But you have to trust that they will. And just continue to do the same things that you've always done. Just do them to where he's able to be successful. And I've also learned that it's okay to mourn the things that he can no longer do, like the chores that he can't do, or the conversations that we may have had in the past that they just changed now to where I'm the memory, and he appreciates that. He's very good natured. He loves to talk about things that have happened in the past. And like Larry said, he loves to go for rides and see the scenery, and just being understanding that he still has a lot of joy. So that's some of the things that I've learned, and just being understanding and kind, and putting yourself in their position as to what it would be like to all of a sudden you don't remember someone's name. That's significant enough for me, but not to be able to remember your life and the things that you've done in the past. That's got to be really difficult. So I think that learning to being understanding of that.
Thank you, Mary. That's beautiful. And I really appreciate you sharing that wisdom with us. How about Susie and Larry? And I might bring in the other question too. I don't want us to run out of time before we share with Brian here. Is there any other advice or resources or things you've learned that you would like to share?
I think for me, and I know you all know this, the biggest thing that I've learned is that you have to put yourself out there. And you have to, if your spouse or somebody you love has dementia, don't be afraid to tell the people around you that, yes, my husband has dementia. All of my neighbors know this, because by me putting myself out there, they know that he's not being rude. They know that he has dementia. And by putting myself out there, my neighbors have actually been more understanding of that situation. So I try really hard to constantly do that. And the other thing that I try is to make sure I could make the bed in like 2 minutes, but I need to find something every day in order for us to have a good day that my husband feels he was successful at. So if it's making the bed together, then he feels that he was successful at that. It's still his job to bring the garbage out. Do I have to go out to the garage with him to show him where the garbage can is? Yes, but that's still his job, and he still feels successful. So every day I try to find something that will make him get that feeling again. And the one other thing I also found out is you have to have self-care. I get up an hour before my husband to make sure that I have that hour to get my mental mind wrapped around the day, and just to have that 1 hour of quiet time, because then the rest of the day you don't have that. And I feel that hour is my self-care.
Thank you, Susie. Great advice. Larry, any last words or things you'd want to share?
Well, I do the same thing as Susie does. I put Deanna to bed at like 7:45, and she sleeps till 8 the next morning. So I have the rest of the evening to myself. And then in the morning, I get up probably at 6:30, and then I don't get her up until 8 o'clock. So yes, I can have that time to myself also. That's important.
Definitely start your day off on a good foot, doesn't it?
Deanna likes to watch TV, so we have friends on all day and then last man standing when they're off. So that's my TV agenda.
Mary, how about you? Any other advice or resources you'd like to share?
I guess I would say, don't be afraid of the word support group. Some people become very hesitant about joining a support group, but don't be afraid of that, because there are so many resources out there, such as the ones I know mainly are those at the Caregivers Center, but they've been so much help to me in understanding what's going on and where we're going down the road and how to deal with troublesome situations that you might run into in an understanding and loving way, so that you can keep your person with you for as long as humanly possible. And just don't be afraid of that word. Put yourself out there, ask for help, join a group. I can't think of another word to use, but other than support group, but if we can think of one, that might be a way to go. Because people just sometimes put a stigma on, well, I don't need a support group, I know what situation I'm in. Well, talking to somebody that's in your same situation is such a help, and it's so different than conversing with someone who is, yes, understanding and empathetic, but they just haven't been there. So talking with Susie and spending time with Walt and Susie is just very, very uplifting. So don't be afraid. Just reach out.
I would agree with Mary on that too. And I think Abby and Kathy, we've talked about this, that I think there is such a stigma with the word support group, that we have been talking about how we could change the name of that. And maybe people wouldn't be afraid. Or maybe we could have a buddy system where the first time they were going to go, they could know somebody else is there that would be a friend, a friendly face.
Yeah, the men's coffee I had, we get as high as 15, 16 people on there on a Tuesday morning. So that's very, very well attended. And we get into every subject you can imagine. And everybody's in a different place.
And they say men don't talk.
That's
think
correct.
And they
men
say
talk.
men don't share, Larry.
Well, you've heard me talk, so I don't shut up, do I?
Maybe we need to have a women's coffee group.
I don't know why. I don't know why you don't have one.
We're working on it.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, Kathy.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing today. We're gonna just talk a little bit about the center, but I just want to say every time, we're in a group, every time we talk to caregivers, but especially you three, we learn something. And I'm so appreciative of you taking the time today to share with us. And I hope those that have joined and those that watch in the future will also take something away from this conversation.
You're welcome.
And thank you for inviting us, because I feel this is really important to get this all out to people. So thank you for having this.
Yes.
So
Thanks. My thanks to fun.
sorry, Mary, I interrupted you. Go ahead. What were you saying?
That's okay. I was just saying thank you.
Okay. So unfortunately, I don't think I can share my screen here, but that's fine. I'm just going to go over really quick a little bit about the center. So Kathy and I are both with the Family Caregiver Center. So what we do is we're a resource and support for family members who are caring for an adult living with any sort of chronic condition. So today we really focused on dementia, but I would say that's half of maybe the caregivers that we're talking to, and that's why we have that focus today. But again, anyone who is struggling, who needs to talk to someone, who needs connection to resources, you're welcome to come and utilize the services at the center. We've been open 6 years this December, started by Kathy Good and Tim Charles. And at this point, we've had contact with almost 1,500 caregivers. And about 18,000 people have walked through the door or participated in center services in days. And what we know is that stress can really impact you as a caregiver. So our goal is to try to make life a little easier. We know it'll never be easy, but hopefully we can make things easier by providing education, connection, and again, support. So we have 3 staff members, and we're actually in the process of hiring a counselor and another staff member to continue to provide emotional support to caregivers. We meet one-on-one with caregivers, but as these guys have mentioned, we also have a variety of different support groups, education sessions on different topics actually selected by caregivers. So if you ever want to know about something, we'd be happy to try to put an education session on about it. We have a newsletter that comes out every month with our calendar in it. So if you have any interest in signing up for that, we can send it out either via email or send it US postal mail. And the best way to reach out to us is you can call us. Our phone number is 319-221-8866. You can email, it's fcgc@mercycare.org, or you can check us out at our website, which is www.familycaregiverscenter.org. We always have new things going on. The next year or so, we're looking forward to having 2 locations. So we're growing, and we're looking forward to hopefully meeting you. And that's all I have to say. So I don't know if there's any questions coming in, but again, we're very grateful to be here, and as always, happy to work with Heritage. They're such a great partner in our community.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you all too. Your stories were inspirational, and you're just really so valuable. We really appreciate what you do every day. Kathy, did you have any other words you would like to give before we go on to Brian?
No, I think that the panelists have done a sterling job, just like we knew they would. And I hope that that some of the things that they have recommended and suggested that have worked for them work for other caregivers. At the Caregivers Center, you know, we share a lot, and it's not with the idea that you have to exactly do what we did, but maybe there's something that you'll decide to try as a result, and then you can share with us at the Caregiver Center how that worked for you or your new idea, because we're just always in the process of learning. So thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, so now we're going to move on for the end of this last session. We're going to end with some movement. We have Brian Bruner here from our Heritage team, and I'll just hand it over to Brian. He's going to do some Tai Chi for us, or with us.
Yes, yes, thank you very much. Yes, so first I'm going to explain a little bit about Tai Chi. I will say that we do have a class going right now at Marion Lau Park at 9:30 every Monday. So we have about 14 people consistently showing up. It's free, and if you'd like to show up, you absolutely all can. It's pretty easy to jump right in. So I've got a few rules. I'm not a big rule stickler, but one is if it hurts, don't do it. So everything's adaptable. I'm trained in seated and standing. So if you can't do something, that's totally okay. We work with everybody. So this is called Tai Chi for arthritis specifically. The arthritis, so there's 3 different Tai Chi forms. The Tai Chi for arthritis is called a Sun form, and it's a little bit higher of a posture, and that is helpful for arthritis specifically. A big part of my position is dealing with falls prevention. And I've seen it firsthand. My dad's fallen, unfortunately, and broken his hip 3 times. So I've seen the recovery of that and also been a caregiver for him. So in any way I can prevent that for anyone is my happiness. So let's do a little bit of Tai Chi. Let me see if I could put a little bit of music on. I'm going to show you the full form first, and then we can maybe learn a little bit of the first bit of it here. Can you hear the music by chance? Is it too, how about now? No?
No.
Okay, that's fine. I can do without music too. Oh, maybe a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna get going here and I will show you a little bit about Tai Chi. All right, so that's a little bit of the form here. So it's kind of fun because during the classes, I show up and immediately they don't expect to see a football player. So specifically, I have arthritis in my back from a couple injuries from football. So when we just moved into a new house, so when I'm moving all weekend, boxes up, down, steps, I'll show up for Tai Chi on Mondays and I'll feel a little bit better in my back area. So with this, it's small steps. You're not over exaggerating yourself. Even seated, you can do seated. So within here, you're just doing what you can. So here, these steps, it's called commencement. Everything you can do is adaptable. So it's kind of nice. So we can actually learn the first few seated if you'd like. It's called commencement. So within this, there's 5 steps here. So commencement is up is 1, 2 is down, 3 is back up, 4 is out, 5 is back, and here's what we called open and closed. And just let it go. So when I was doing my training, I didn't know much about Tai Chi. So I was up there and I was watching this master trainer who her movements were so beautiful and fluid. And I didn't know the forms yet. So every time I would get to this open and closed, I would relax. I'd do a reset, I'd breathe. Sometimes I'm at work, I will just sit there and do open and closed and breathe and relax and reset. So within that, let's do the commencement one more time here. So it's those 5 steps. So 1 is up, 2 is down, 3 is back up, 4 is out, 5's back in, and here's open and closed. Good. And I don't know, it's just very calming. It's just very relaxing. I have experienced Olympic weightlifting. So I deal with bench press, squat, deadlift, and this kind of opened my eyes. It's much different. It's much fluid. I love the fluidity of it because the more you do it, the more fluid it can become. And I never thought that I would be a fluid mover, I guess, if you could call it that. But yeah, I love how adaptable it is. Everything can be seated. It's great. I've been teaching it for 2.5 years. We're trying our best to get more classes. I've got 2 going right now. So the Marion one and a North Liberty one. We're trying to spread out as far as we can within these classes. So definitely feel free. Mondays, 9:30 at Lau Park. So are there any questions about Tai Chi, I guess, I could take?
I have a question.
Absolutely.
My husband is having lots of problems with his knee, and I think it's coming from his back down through his sciatica to his knee.
Yeah.
Would something like this, do you think that that would be of help? I mean, we're trying chiropractic, but I was just wondering, that's what came to my head when I'm seeing this.
Absolutely. So I've had sciatica pain before. And I've also had a few participants that have had it. One thing about sciatica is there's no comfortable space or sitting's not fun, standing's not fun, but I have done seated for that. And as long as I'm moving a little bit, it gets better. So I'm not particularly a physical therapist, but I do recommend people with that pain, it kind of does shoot down to the leg, to do this as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll join some. Do we need to sign up ahead of time or anything?
Nope. I just had I think I had 2 new people show up last week, and we just kind of go from there. So just show up.
All right.
I'm very good at kind of going at our own pace. So we're doing a lot of review as well within the program. So I promise there's enough time to learn the full form. So.
And so what I'm picking up from you, Brian, is that people who are caring for people with chronic conditions are welcome at your group.
Everyone's welcome.
Okay.
Yep. We target specifically 60 and over, or people with arthritis, but I've done it in the park in Washington County, actually, from 16-year-old all the way up to 85. So my mantra is the more the merrier. And people are more likely to stay within a program if they have somebody doing it with them. So the more support we can build as a class, the better. So, yeah. Any other questions by chance? I do love the program. I really, I like it, not because I have to in my job. I really do enjoy it. I never thought that I would, but it's a great program. It's super easy to be taught. So anytime I can be out with people is a good day. So I tell my classes, I'd much rather be teaching in front of people than not. So, yeah.
Well, if there are any other questions, especially after we're done here for the day, we will have Abby and Kathy and Brian's contact information on our Facebook page and also on our website. So I know they're happy to answer any questions after we're done with the day. And we're glad to have Karen back. So Karen, I'll turn it over to you for any final comments or anything as we close up this last session.
Well, I just, first of all, apologize for my technical issue with the beginning of this webinar, but I just want to thank all the caregivers out there doing what they are doing. I've owned Home Instead for over 14 years, been a part of this, helping caregivers with their loved ones. And I see the day in and day out of what you do. And I applaud you and the love that you give and the time you put in. It's amazing. But I also want to let you know that help is in the community for you. And I think our 3 speakers today have just done an amazing job by reaching out to the community and finding that help through the Family Caregiver Center. And it just shows the messages they're giving are or what we were telling people back when I first started this job. People didn't know this information. And it's so
Mhm.
comforting to me to hear family caregivers now sharing this information with others. So I want to applaud all the family caregivers out there that are doing the job to care for your loved ones, because I know it's hard. I know the stress, and you're doing a great job. So thank you to our speakers. Thank you for all the family caregivers, and thank you for being a part of our webinar series. And sad that this is our last one for the year, but maybe next year we'll be able to hold it live again, and we'll say some happy thoughts and say some happy prayers to be back in the comfort of everybody's in the presence of everybody, so we can be live again. But thank you for all you do, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, and I'd like to echo that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the caregivers out there. This day is for you. We're still here to support you even after the wellness series is over. So please call us, call all those resources in your community if you need something. We will hope next year we will meet face to face, but if we don't, we've learned we can do it this way too. So look for announcements on how that will happen next year. And until then, we hope all of you take care. Have a really wonderful holiday season.